I was never supposed to be the other woman, but somehow I became the reason a marriage might fall apart. Have you ever looked at yourself and thought, how did I get here? Because I did. And the worst part? I knew exactly when I crossed the line. And I still didn't stop. And now, every single day feels like I'm paying for it. I didn't wake up one morning and decide to ruin someone else's life. That's not who I thought I was. I've always been the kind of person who believed in loyalty, in doing the right thing, in staying away from complicated situations. If anything, I used to judge people who got involved with someone already taken. And yet, here I am. It started so normally that if I told you the beginning without the ending, you'd probably think it was harmless. We worked together. Same office, same schedule, same endless routine of coffee breaks, deadlines, and those small conversations that help you survive a long workday. He was easy to talk to, not overly charming, not trying too hard, just comfortable, safe even. At first, he was just another coworker, someone I'd joke with during lunch, someone who'd occasionally help me out when I got stuck on something. We'd complain about work, share random stories, laugh at the same stupid things. Nothing special. At least, that's what I told myself. But then, slowly, something shifted. It wasn't one big moment. It was a series of small ones. The way he started remembering little things about me. My favorite drink. The fact that I hated Mondays more than anything. The way I'd get quiet when I was stressed. He noticed. And I didn't realize how much I needed to be noticed. Until someone finally did. I knew he was married. That part was never hidden. There were pictures on his desk. Casual mentions in conversations. A ring on his finger that I tried very hard not to look at. So I built a boundary in my head. This is just a friendship, nothing more. And for a while, it really was, until the day it wasn't. I remember it so clearly, and I hate that I do. We were working late. The office was almost empty. Just that quiet hum of computers and fluorescent lights that makes everything feel a little more intimate than it should. We started talking, like we always did. But the conversation went deeper than usual. He asked me if I was happy, not in a casual way, not like small talk. He actually wanted to know, and I answered him honestly. Probably more honestly than I should have. I told him about how lonely I'd been feeling, how life had started to feel repetitive, how I didn't really have anyone who truly saw me. And he listened. Not just listened, understood. And then he said something that changed everything. He told me he felt the same way, that his marriage wasn't what people thought it was, that he felt disconnected, that he hadn't been happy in a long time. I should have stopped it right there. That was the moment. That was the exact point where I could have said, this is inappropriate. We shouldn't be talking like this. But I didn't. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. After that night, things became different. We started texting more. Not about work. About everything. Late at night, early in the morning, during breaks. Conversations that felt too personal, too emotional, too intimate. But still, I told myself we hadn't done anything wrong. There was no physical contact, no cheating. Technically, just words, just feelings. That's how I justified it. That feelings, they don't stay contained forever. They grow. And one day, he said it. I think I have feelings for you. I felt my heart drop and race at the same time, because part of me already knew, and part of me wanted to hear it. I remember telling him we needed to stop, that this wasn't right, that he was married. I tried to be the good person I thought I was, but boundaries, they're only as strong as the person holding them, and I wasn't strong enough. We didn't stop talking. If anything, we got closer. It became something I thought about constantly. Him, us, the situation, the guilt that followed me everywhere, even when I tried to ignore it. I started hating myself, but I also couldn't let go. That's the part people don't talk about. How something can feel so wrong and yet so hard to walk away from. Eventually, it crossed the line. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slowly, inevitably. A touch that lasted too long, a look that said too much, and then there was no pretending anymore. I had become the person I swore I would never be, and it was destroying me. Every day felt heavier. Every interaction came with a weight I couldn't shake off. I couldn't enjoy anything fully because there was always this voice in the back of my head reminding me of what I was doing, what I was part of. He would tell me things like, "I haven't felt this way in years," or "You make me feel alive again." And instead of making me happy, it made me feel worse because I knew what that meant. It meant there was someone else being left in the dark, someone who had no idea, and the guilt started eating me alive. About a month ago, I reached my breaking point. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep living with that constant knot in my chest, that constant feeling of being someone I didn't recognize. So I ended it. I told him we needed to stop. Completely. No more messages, no more conversations beyond what was absolutely necessary for work. I expected relief. I thought I'd feel free, but instead I felt empty, like I had lost something real, even though I knew it was built on something wrong. And then he said something that messed with my head even more. He told me that if he ever got divorced, it would be because of me. And that terrified me because I never wanted that kind of responsibility. I never wanted to be the reason someone's life fell apart. I just wanted to feel something. And now I'm stuck in this strange place where I don't know what hurts more, being in that relationship or being without it. We still work together, so I see him, not all the time, but enough. Enough to remind me, enough to make it harder to move on. We don't talk like we used to. Everything is short, distant, professional, but there's this tension, unspoken. And every time I see him, it's like reopening a wound that hasn't fully healed. I go home feeling drained, empty, questioning everything about myself. I keep asking myself the same thing over and over again. Does this ever get better? Because right now, it doesn't feel like it will. It just feels like I'm stuck between guilt and longing, and neither side lets me breathe. Some days I hate him. Some days I hate myself more. And most days, I just feel tired. Really, really tired. I've read so many stories online, hoping to find someone who felt the same way. Someone who made it through this and came out okay. But most of what I find is judgment, or simple answers to a situation that doesn't feel simple at all. Just move on. Cut him off completely. Forget about him. If it were that easy, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be lying awake at night, replaying everything in my head. I wouldn't be questioning who I am. I wouldn't feel like this. So I guess what I'm really asking is, if you've ever been through something like this, does it actually get better? Or do you just learn to live with it? I remember the first morning after I ended things with him. It was quiet. Too quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that makes everything echo louder inside your head. I woke up out of habit and reached for my phone, half asleep, expecting to see a message from him. Something simple. Something that had become part of my routine without me even realizing it. There was nothing. And for a second, I just stared at the screen. Like maybe I had missed it. That's when it hit me. Oh, right. I ended it. I thought I would feel strong. Like I had finally taken control of my life again. Like I had done the right thing and could finally breathe. But instead, I just felt this heavy emptiness sitting in my chest. It's strange how your mind works. Even when you know something is wrong, even when it's hurting you, even when it's destroying your sense of self, when it's gone, it still feels like a loss. And that loss, it doesn't care about logic. It just sits there. That first week was the hardest. At work, everything felt different. The same office, the same people, the same routine, but something was missing. Or maybe it wasn't missing. Maybe it was just broken. We avoided each other at first, not in an obvious way. Not enough for anyone else to notice. But there were these small, almost invisible adjustments. If he was in the break room, I'd wait. If I saw him walking down the hall, I'd suddenly find something else to do. It was exhausting because every part of me was hyper-aware of him, where he was, what he was doing, whether he looked at me or not. And when our eyes did meet, even for a second, it felt like everything froze. There was so much in that silence, so much we couldn't say anymore. And then one day, about a week after everything ended, we were forced to talk. It was something work-related. A normal conversation. Necessary. But it didn't feel normal. I could hear it in his voice. That distance. That careful, controlled tone. Like he was trying to act like nothing had ever happened. And I mirrored it, because what else could I do? We spoke like strangers who knew too much about each other. And when it was over, I went back to my desk and just sat there, staring at my screen, not even remembering what I was supposed to be doing, because in that moment, it became real. It wasn't just something I said anymore. It was over. And the worst part, I was the one who ended it. But I still felt like I was the one being left behind. Nights were even worse. That's when everything came back. All the conversations, all the moments, all the what-ifs. I started replaying everything in my head, like my brain was trying to rewrite the story into something that didn't hurt as much. What if I had been stronger earlier? What if I had never opened up that night? What if I had just kept things professional? But then another voice would answer, what if he actually loved you? What if this was real? And that's the part that messed me up the most, because I didn't know what was real anymore. Was I just someone who filled a gap in his unhappy marriage? Or did I actually mean something to him? And why did that even matter? When I knew the situation was wrong, I started noticing things I hadn't paid attention to before, like how he still wore his wedding ring every single day, how he still talked about his life like everything was normal, how nothing in his world seemed to change, except for me. And that realization hurt in a way I wasn't prepared for, because for me, everything had changed. I felt like I had gone through something huge, something life-altering. And for him, it was like he just adjusted, kept going. And I hated myself for thinking that way, because it wasn't fair. I didn't know what he was feeling. I didn't know what was going on in his head. But emotions aren't always fair. They don't care about logic or perspective. They just exist. There was one moment I can't stop thinking about. It was late afternoon. The office was quieter than usual. I was walking past one of the conference rooms, and I saw him inside, sitting alone. He looked tired, not just physically, mentally, emotionally. And for a second, I almost walked in. I almost broke everything I had worked so hard to hold together. I wanted to ask him if he was okay. I wanted to hear his voice again. Not that distant, professional version of it, but the real one. I wanted to feel connected again, but I didn't. I kept walking, and that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, because in that moment I realized something. Walking away once isn't enough. You have to keep walking away, over and over again, every day, every time you see them, every time your mind drifts back to them. It's not a single decision, it's a constant one, and it's exhausting. Weeks passed, but it didn't magically get better like I had hoped. It just changed. The sharp pain turned into something duller, but heavier. Like carrying a weight you slowly get used to, but never really forget is there. I started questioning myself more deeply, not just about him, but about me. What does it say about me that I got involved in something like this? Why was it so hard for me to let go? Why did I need that validation so badly? And those questions? They didn't have easy answers. Some days, I felt like I was healing, like I was finally starting to see things clearly. And then other days, something small would trigger me. A song, a place, a random memory, and I'd feel like I was right back at the beginning, like I hadn't moved forward at all. I think the hardest part is the silence, not talking to him, not knowing what he's thinking, not knowing if he misses me, or if he's already moved on. And I know I shouldn't care, but I do, and that makes me feel even worse. Because it's like I'm still emotionally tied to something I know I should have let go of completely. I've started trying to focus on myself more, spending time alone, reflecting, trying to understand where I went wrong, what I need to change. But healing isn't linear. It doesn't follow a straight path. It loops back on itself, surprises you, drags you through things you thought you were already past. And sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet again, I still find myself asking the same question. Not about him, but about me. Am I ever going to feel like myself again? Or is this something that stays with you, no matter how far you move on? There was a point where I thought I was getting better. Not fully okay, not healed, but better. It started with small things. I stopped checking my phone first thing in the morning. I stopped looking for him in every room. I could go a few hours, sometimes even a whole day, without thinking about him. And when I did think about him, it didn't feel like a punch to the chest anymore. It just felt distant, like a memory that didn't belong to my present anymore. I remember thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what moving on feels like. Not dramatic, not some big emotional breakthrough, just quieter. But healing has a way of testing you when you least expect it. It happened on a completely normal day. Nothing special. No warning signs. I was at work, focused on something, actually feeling productive for the first time in a while. And then I overheard something. 2 coworkers talking. His name came up. I didn't mean to listen, but once I heard it, I couldn't not hear the rest. They were talking about him and his wife, about how they had gone on a trip recently, about how things seemed good between them. And I just froze. It felt like the ground shifted under me, even though I was just standing there, holding a stack of papers, pretending to be busy. A trip. They went on a trip, and suddenly, all those thoughts I had tried to quiet down came rushing back. Was everything he told me a lie? Was I just a distraction? Something temporary? Something he could just walk away from and go back to his life like nothing happened? I went to the bathroom and locked myself in a stall like I was trying to hide from something that you can't hide from your own thoughts. They followed me in. They got louder. Because the truth is, I had built this version of our story in my head, not intentionally, not consciously, but somewhere along the way, I had started believing that what we had meant something deeper, that it was more than just a mistake. And hearing that his life was continuing normally, maybe even happily, it shattered that illusion. And I think that's when it really hit me. I wasn't just grieving the relationship. I was grieving the meaning I had given it. That night, I couldn't stop thinking, not about him this time, but about everything I had ignored. All the red flags, all the moments where I should have stepped back but didn't. The way he could say he felt unhappy in his marriage, but never actually leave. The way he could tell me I made him feel alive, but still go home to someone else every night. The way everything between us existed in this separate space from his real life. And I realized something that hurt more than anything else. I was never part of his real life. I was something outside of it, something hidden, something temporary. And that realization didn't just hurt. It changed something in me, because for the first time, I stopped asking, did he love me? And started asking, why did I accept so little? That question stayed with me. It followed me through the next few days, the next few weeks, and slowly, it started shifting the way I saw everything. Not instantly, not in some dramatic, life-changing moment, but gradually, I started noticing how much of myself I had given away during that time. How I had shaped my emotions around his availability. How my mood depended on his messages. How I had ignored my own values just to hold on to something that was never really mine. And that made me feel angry, not just at him, but at myself. And I think that anger was the beginning of something new, because for the first time, I didn't miss him. I missed the version of myself I used to be, the one who had boundaries, the one who wouldn't have tolerated something like this, the one who knew her worth and didn't question it. I started wanting that version of me back, not for anyone else, not to prove anything, just for myself. So I began doing things differently, small things at first. I stopped engaging in unnecessary conversations with him at work. Not cold, not rude, just clear, professional, distant. I stopped letting my thoughts spiral every time I saw him, and when they did, I reminded myself of the reality, not the fantasy. He didn't choose me, and more importantly, I don't choose this anymore. That sentence became something I repeated in my head more times than I can count. I don't choose this anymore. And slowly, it started to stick. There were still hard days, moments where I felt weak, moments where I almost slipped back into old patterns, but they became less frequent, less intense. And one day, something happened that I didn't expect. I saw him, and I felt nothing. Not sadness, not longing, not even anger, just neutrality. And it scared me at first, because for so long he had been tied to such strong emotions. And suddenly there was nothing. But then I realized that's what healing feels like. Not forgetting, not pretending it never happened, but no longer being controlled by it. I'm not fully there yet. I still have moments where the past creeps in, where I question things, where I feel that familiar ache, but it doesn't define me anymore. It doesn't control my days. And I think that's the answer I was looking for all along. It doesn't magically get better overnight. You don't wake up one day completely healed, but it does change. It becomes something you can carry without it breaking you. And if you've ever been in a situation like this, where you feel stuck between guilt and something that felt real, I guess what I'd ask you is this: what would you choose? If you chose yourself first, because I didn't, for a long time, and it cost me more than I expected. But maybe that's how we learn. Maybe that's how we come back to ourselves. And if you've ever felt this kind of confusion, this kind of emotional pull, I'd really want to know, what would you have done in my place? Would you have walked away sooner? Or do you think some lessons can only be learned the hard way? And if you've been through something like this, did it get better for you? Because I think I'm finally starting to believe that it will.